I'd like to nominate the Liberal Party of Canada as the most effective gaslighters in world history. You look at what they've done, the disastrous policies they've implemented this past decade. Mark Carney, since he was elected, his two big announcements have been getting rid of the carbon tax, and he just announced they're getting rid of the EV mandate. Guess who proposed both of those initiatives? The Liberal Party of Canada. Mark Carney's two greatest accomplishments are getting rid of ridiculous Liberal policies that have led to 6 straight quarters of GDP per capita falling in Canada, unprecedented for the second largest land mass in the world, with the unbelievable natural resources that we have, whether you're talking LNG, oil, fresh water. The opportunities in Canada are almost unlike any other country in the world. Our GDP fell 1.6% in the first quarter of 2025, Carney's first quarter. The past decade in Canada, by every objective measure, whether you're looking at the economy, GDP per capita on a chart, when you compare Canada compared to every other G7 country for the past decade since Trudeau was elected in 2015, dead last. When you look at our healthcare, we now have in excess of 70,000 Canadians dying a year needlessly due to the fact that our healthcare system is totally in shambles. Why is our healthcare system in shambles? Oh, we let 8 million people into the country in under a decade. Unprecedented rates of growth through immigration, don't have the infrastructure to handle it. Currently, we have over 7% unemployment rate in Canada, 22% male youth unemployment rate, which is an absolute disaster. Again, leading the G7. Why is that? Immigration and liberal green policies. The Liberals have torched the Canadian economy in such a way that you have to think it's malevolent. There's no other way to explain what's happened to our economy. And you just walk around our streets, you can see it. You can see it. These streets have transformed over the past decade. If you've lived in Canada your entire life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These streets have absolutely transformed. In terms of the job market, when are we going to wake the hell up and realize that these Liberals, the people who are telling you, who have gaslit you for the past decade, that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man, cannot be in charge of our economy anymore. The cost of living crisis we have in this country is so ridiculous, and every job that you apply to asks, are you Indigenous? Are you Black? Are you a woman? All of these ridiculous woke questions that have absolutely nothing to do with your ability to do the job. The Liberals have turned Canada into such a clown society that I cower to think, if we don't change things, and if we don't change things like now, immediately, could you imagine what this country is going to look like in 2 to 3 years? Because the woke ideology isn't going. This absolute garbage when you apply to jobs, and it pretty much tells you if you're a white male, you can't get it, is not going away under Mark Carney. Look into the guy's history. The guy's a total creep. That stuff absolutely is not going anywhere. But Carney continues to say we're going to allow 1.5 million immigrants into the country between temporary and permanent workers. It's fucking insanity. But hey, you latte sipping creep, take your head out of your ass and realize that for middle and lower class Canadians, the past decade has been an absolute disaster. The unemployment rate continues to skyrocket. And Carney, you know what he did the other day? He sent another $500 million for gender inclusive climate studies. You liberal fucking morons. This is what's ruining the country. We should not be spending another goddamn penny on anything that says gender studies or climate change. It's pure insanity. Meat and potatoes, let's focus on the fact that we have an over 7% unemployment rate and an over 20% youth male unemployment rate. Carney, hey, all those infrastructure bills that you talked about, you talked a big game. You essentially stole Poilievre's policies going into the election. Where are all these infrastructure? Where are all these major infrastructure projects that you talked about? Because I'm really not seeing any of them. LNG, through liquefied natural gas, Canada has some of the greatest opportunities in the entire world. Japan, China are begging for our LNG, are absolutely begging for it. But because of these insane green initiatives that have seen, when in 2015 we were essentially on par with the US in terms of median Canadians' annual income, that has fallen off a cliff because No projects involving oil, involving LNG are allowed to get off the ground in Canada because of these woke green creeps who will literally throw Canadians' economic safety out the window in favor of so-called climate safety, when Canada only produces between 1.5% and 2% of all emissions worldwide. China, in a month, produces 10 times the emissions that we do. And we're throwing Canadian after Canadian's life away so that these guys can virtue signal. It's an absolute joke. If they actually wanted to make an impact, you know what they'd do? They'd let us export LNG. LNG is the only way a country like Canada can actually make a big impact in terms of climate change. It's the only way, but they refuse to do it. It just goes to show that Mark Carney's interest is not in being a great prime minister for the Canadian people. Mark Carney's interest is in getting himself rich. He's invested in all the green initiatives that he's pushing. It's absolutely undoubtable. It was why it took him so long to cancel the green and the EV mandate, because industry leader after industry leader went to him and said, this is ridiculous. This will kill our car company. Also, Carney doesn't even allow Chinese EVs to come into Canada. If he actually cared about climate change, he'd be letting Chinese EVs come in. But no, it's all about profit for him. And the Liberals cloak themselves in this virtuousness, saying, oh, it's for the climate, when in reality, it's about getting themselves rich. Canadians need to wake the hell up. If we continue immigration at the current rates, continue these economic policies, continue our, not even going to get into policing right now, but the number of disgusting stories coming out because of our lax bail policies are insane. If we don't turn things around now, can you imagine the types of, and immigrants vote 80% liberal. That's the other thing. They're importing voters. They're literally importing voters so they can implement their communist playbook, because of course immigrants are going to vote liberal. Liberals are saying, come in here and get $283 a day, get free stuff, get your first year paid for if you're LGBTQ. I kid you not, through the Rainbow Refugee Program. So of course they're importing voters. It's the most anti-democratic bullshit I've ever seen. We need to stop it, and stop it now, or this country is going to be absolutely done for. That's why I'm hosting the Take Canada Back rally Saturday, September 13th. Our top issues are immigration, policing, free speech, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, housing, and healthcare. There's a bunch of ancillary stuff, of course, but those are our 6 main issues. If we don't get things turned around in Canada, and turned around extremely quickly, people who come from third world hellholes from communist countries have already said Canada is going that direction. We know that to be the case. We need this country turned around, and turned around extremely quickly. We need to make our voice heard before finally the parliamentarians are back on the Hill. Saturday, September 13th, noon, Take Canada Back rally. Please like, share, subscribe this video, join, become a member if you're interested in supporting the cause, keeping me getting this content out there, helping mold this movement from the ground up. And if you're watching on TikTok, make sure you follow on YouTube, because I'm at about 16,000 followers, and the Canadian government is not a big fan of dissidents. That's another thing we have to worry about, is the Canadian government getting more and more control over the airways. It's truly sickening what's happening in this country. Make your displeasure heard Saturday, September 13th, noon, Parliament Hill.